Welcome back to Fred Achando Analysis, ladies and gentlemen. For those who take the time to support this channel in one way or the other, I just want to say thank you very much. I'm really humbled. I'm not taking it for granted. There are two things that have taken place simultaneously, politically speaking, and they are very significant. I want us to look at them. William Ruto recently toured Nyanza in what he termed as a development tour. And Raila instructed his supporters and all the leaders to give him a resounding reception. And it was successful in as many experts say. At the same time, Wafula Chebukati, Abdi Guli and Boya Muli's term have ended, and today was their last day in office. Now these two events are very important to me, and for them to take place simultaneously is something that is very mischievous to me. I'm saying this because they are very significant in the life of Raila Odinga. While Ruto toured Nyanza, there has been a lot of pressure from the local leaders and international community for Raila Odinga to work with William Ruto. And while this is not really a wrong thing to do, because when they work together, there is a pacifying environment and an air of tranquility that will only help the ordinary mwananchi. But on the other side, Raila has complained that electoral reforms must continue, aluta continua. But from the past events, it has proved that when Raila is in bed with the powers that be, it comes back to haunt him. And I will take you back to the last regime. When Raila shook hands with Uhuru Kenyatta, he stopped his reform agenda because he had identified that Wafula Chebukati and his team that are now retiring to go home had bungled the 2017 elections. And Raila started pushing this team to walk out of office like he did with their predecessors, Mr. Isaac Hassan and the team, that Raila Odinga led the NASA Brigade and all their supporters, and finally Isaac Hassan bowed down to pressure and vacated office. So many of his supporters had expected that Raila would continue the same push to kick out Chebukati and his team out of office. But then when they shook hands and they were in some good relationship with Uhuru Kenyatta, he stopped this idea and instead decided to follow the BBI route, the Building Bridges Initiative, which was later thwarted in court. It's in the same light that I'm looking at it that Raila Odinga has identified the IEBC as the chief suspect of robbing him of his victories in the last general election. And he has said that there must be serious electoral reforms. Today, the four commissioners who dissented and disagreed with the Wafula Chebukati, Madam Juliana Cherera, Irene Masit, Francis Wanderi, and Nyang'aya, have lost their jobs, and Raila has maintained that this is basically witch hunt. He has maintained that it is instead Wafula Chebukati who belongs to jail, who should even go to the Hague. So with the two events taking place at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, I see Raila at crossroads, because if he accepts to work with William Ruto, this will curtail his energy and the conscience to start fighting for electoral justice and electoral reforms. You look at the former South African Justice Kriegler. In his recommendations, he had identified that the major problem that the IEBC is suffering from is the interference from the political class. And this has been the problem from 2007. It was claimed that that regime, the Kibaki regime, took hostage the ECK, Electoral Commission of Kenya, and their chairman, and they robbed Raila of his victory. Back then they were with William Ruto. Then came 2013, Uhuruto has been, it's claimed that Uhuruto government took charge and took hostage Mr. Wafula Chebukati. And this happened in 2017. In fact, when it ended up in court, the former Chief Justice David Maraga identified several weaknesses in the process of election. That he noted that election is not just an event, but a process. It starts with even procurement of election materials. And so today we see the same thing again. Raila has continued to chide and complain about Wafula Chebukati. But it is the handshake that very many experts identify as the major problem that has come to haunt him. And don't quote me wrong. There are several things that were good about the handshake, because it brought peace that was very elusive. By Raila Odinga and the former President Uhuru Kenyatta agreeing to work together, it was the best thing that has ever happened to Kenya. What do you think? Now that William Ruto has completed his tour, and you saw James Orengo telling William Ruto to look for Raila so that they can work together, and at the same time there are electoral reforms that are supposed to take place already. The Attorney General has submitted a report to Parliament trying to change the process of identifying the committee that will be interviewing those who are interested in replacing the commissioners. And if you look at it, it points out to the fact that there are plans to control the IEBC, because William Ruto is busy building his house and putting it in order so that come 2027 there will be no obstacles like an IEBC that is divided. When Cherera team separated, it really dented the image and the legitimacy of William Ruto. The legitimacy is something that he's still fighting to date, and that is why you see them talking about a report to tell us what happened in Bomas, that there was a lot of state capture and a lot of coercion from the previous regime and the military to force Chebukati to announce and declare Raila Odinga. So he wants an IEBC that will be talking in harmony, and it starts from now. And if Raila Odinga wants to succeed, then he should also start now and ensure that he is part and parcel of the process that is going to interview and give us the commissioners, the new commissioners. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you this without blinking. If Raila does not take his time to ensure that he is part and parcel of this process, I can assure you that there is no need going for an election in 2027. Let us not waste taxpayers' money. Let him declare William Ruto as the president, period. You might disagree with me depending on your political divide and political affiliation, but this is a fact. We have seen it that a government has got all the machineries to ensure that the IEBC dances to its tune. They can buy their loyalty, they can intimidate, they can do anything. I have known William Ruto as a very seasoned politician, very crafty and very wise. He took charge when he was just a deputy president. He defeated all the machinery and the deep state. Whether he stole, whether he did whatever it is that he did, he was still a deputy president. Now he is in charge fully. He's the commander-in-chief of all the armed forces. He controls the IEBC, he controls the judiciary, he controls now his everything. I can assure you that if we don't have proper electoral reforms, if Raila does not do something now, nasikia wanasema mapema ndio best, do not waste your time and energy going for elections in 2027. And so even as much as Raila wants to work with the government, finding an amicable peace to ensure that there is development that is trickling down to regions that never voted for William Ruto, let him not sit back and watch things happening, because I have a feeling that Raila will be given something to start thinking about, a new office and how to restructure this office. What does it need? Because I've seen him talking about it, that it should be the BBI that William Ruto rejected. How I wish that he makes sure that even as they tell him to work with William Ruto, let him not forget about the reforms, and especially the electoral reforms. My message today is just simple, ladies and gentlemen, that Raila Amolo Odinga must balance as he is getting this pressure and he bows down to pressure to work with William Ruto. Let him not bow down to pressure to abandon his quest for electoral justice and electoral reforms. If this happens, again I repeat, let us declare William Ruto as the president in 2027, even without going for an election. That is my take.